Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 27 of the Essential Zodiac Podcast. I'm your host, Cynthia McNulty.
And I'm your producer, Audrey Fannin.
Today, we are talking about the full moon in Leo. A few announcements first. I am offering 2 services for the month of love for February. From now until February 28th, there are 2 promotions. The first one I am offering is my relationship composite report. Now, normally this is $125, but for February, I'm offering it for $100. You still get the chart, the report, the consultation, as always. And this report will give important insights into the dynamics of a couple. The composite chart is the chart of the relationship itself. And I would say that this chart is best for long-term couples, at least a year, if not longer. It's not really the kind of chart if, your relationship is new or, if you're thinking of dating someone. Now, for that, I have a brand new offering, which is cosmic compatibility. Now here, this chart is more about how compatible the two of you would be. The cost of the report will be $55, and that's the introductory price. And then after the special expires at the end of February, it will go up to $65. And this report is rather self-explanatory. So you would get, of course, the chart and report. If you wanted a consultation, we could always add that, but it would be emailed to you. And so it would go within 48 hours. You would get that. Now, all of this information on the offers, along with our customary birthday offer for all of you February babies out there, you can find it on my welcome page on my website under current promotions. Okay, so enough advertising. Let's get into the full moon in Leo. The sign of the lion, that's Leo's symbol, the lion. This activates courage, bravery, and leadership. Those are the qualities that you'll find in Leo. But you don't have to be a typical leader for this full moon to conjure the qualities that will make you shine. You are being encouraged to rise to your own fullness. So what does that mean? What it means is to expand and enliven your sense of what's possible for you. We know ourselves. We know what we're capable of. But it's also good to push ourselves a little, to get outside of our comfort zone, because you just don't know what will happen and what benefits that you'll get from that. So the vast expanse of possibilities that lives in the mind isn't necessarily what we're after here. Drop down into your heart. That's where dreaming really begins. So really look deep down inside of yourself. What do you really want? What would make your heart sing? Now, the sun rules this Leo full moon. Leo is ruled by the sun. So transiting through the domain of the sun, the moon is directed outwards. Lunar energy tends to be receptive or passive, but with this transit in Leo, the full moon calls you back into your own power as a diffuser of energy. So you're probably going to feel very empowered during this full moon. And remember, the energy of the moons, whether it be new or full, lasts for 2 weeks. So when we come up to the new moon in Pisces, which is the next moon that we'll be talking about later in the month, the energy of this moon is dissipated. So what can we do? What can we do with this full moon? The Leo full moon holds the space for you to consider these questions. What will you do with your light? How will you get your light out there? What will you do with your life? I mean, that's a big question.
Sure is.
Yeah, right? That one really makes us stop and think. But if we want to take a pause here, now is the time to really look at those big questions. Right now, we're in the season of reflection. The spring is, coming up. It's just around the corner. The spring equinox is going to be March 20th this year. So we're getting ready, right? Now is the time to look at our life and think, what would I like to change? Now, it doesn't have to be huge, big things. And I think that's what people get caught up with. It could be a small change. Maybe it is a big change that needs to happen. So now is the time to start planning, get your ducks in the row and see, how you can accomplish this. And finally, what will you do with the stream of creative power that is placed in your hands? Because during this full moon, it's definitely a time of creativity. Leo is a creative sign in its own way. I wouldn't say we're necessarily artistic, but we do think outside the box. So, now's the time for you to think outside the box for yourself. Give more than you take during this full moon. Be generous with yourself. But now, be careful. As soon as, that balance tips too far the other way, take a step back, have a day of self-care, or, just say no. That's a very important word in a lot of ways, and I don't think sometimes we give ourselves the grace and allowance to say no, so don't be afraid. Your inner lion or lioness may feel like anything's possible under this full moon, and there aren't any boundaries to be drawn. But this moon, and you at the center of it, runs a risk of burning out if not tended to. So remember to nurture your inner flame. Don't let the hearth run low. That's what I was saying. Make some time for self-care. The full moon in Leo amplifies fixed energy. Fixed energy is stable, but fixed energy can also sometimes get us into a rut. We right now have the sun and moon anchored in this quality. The sun right now is in Aquarius, which is a fixed air sign. So you have a double dose of stability, but you also have a double dose of being stubborn. So while stubbornness and inflexibility may make their appearance over this lunar phase, the energy is to harness devotion. Okay, it has us, look at something that we need to commit to. So a devotion to a cause, whatever cause, speaks to you. And, that is something that you hold dear. Devotion to something or someone you love that you really care about. This is the moment to devote yourself to that. Harness the gaze of the full moon and channel it right there. One thing about Leo is Leo burns with a passion that is rooted firmly in truth and love. This goes beyond ideology or opinion. One thing about, us Leo sun signs is we need the truth. We speak the truth and we need that truth back. And if we love you forever. We're very loyal also. So this full moon in Leo strips away questions and doubt. She rises at a time when we must not get complacent. So trust your heart and the wisdom she pours forth under the gaze of the moon. One of the things I think we'll be called upon to do over the next 2 years is make a stand. We seem to be having to do this over and over, and there doesn't seem to be any stopping it. So right now we have to make a stand, and you have to stand for what you believe in. Encompass unity. To quote Game of Thrones, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. So let's encompass that unity. Get together with your community, like-minded individuals. It's time to drop the division. Really, we have to stop it because it's going to destroy us. This full moon teaches us to let go of things that stand in our way of self-realization. For too many years now, we have been driven hard into this program of division from our fellow human beings. But true self-realization won't come like this. Like I said, we have to embrace unity. We need to make our points of connection to be love, not fear. Educate yourself about your neighbors. Learn about them. Have them over for a cup of coffee. You'll be surprised on how much of a common ground you have, how much that you both want for yourselves and your children that are all similar. The full moon in Leo arrives to shine a light on where you are still resisting this truth and letting fear direct your actions. It's time to drop the fear. It's time to drop the division. So allow the light of this full moon into your hearts and recall the power that belongs to you. Don't have them tell you how to think. Think for yourselves. Well, that ends today's episode. Our next episode will be about the new moon in Pisces, and that will air on February 17th. I hope you tune in. It's going to be good. And remember, with astrology, you can chart your life's course.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Essential Zodiac Podcast. Visit EssentialZodiac.com to learn more about the Relationship Composite Report and the Cosmic Compatibility Reports Cindy mentioned at the beginning of the episode. If you have a question for Cindy or have a topic you'd like to hear her cover in an upcoming episode, send an email to ezpodcast@yahoo.com. That's the letter E, the letter Z, podcast@yahoo.com. The Essential Zodiac Podcast is produced at Muddy Creek Studios.